Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to New Mexicans by State Employees Credit Union, who have been proudly serving the families of New Mexico locally and abroad since 1958. State Employees Credit Union is ready to help you and your family with all your financial goals. And now, Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. We have a very serious topic on Issues and Answers today, one that we're not going to be smiling much about. We like to have a lot of fun on this show, but this is a very serious topic and something that's, of course, been in the news for, it seems like almost decades here in New Mexico and especially in Albuquerque. On the show today, we're going to give you an update on the court-approved settlement agreement between the Department of Justice, federal government, and the city of Albuquerque, the police department. As you recall, we've been known here in our country to be one of the most violent cities in the United States. It doesn't bring me any pleasure to mention that because we all love Albuquerque. And again, it certainly has a big black eye, and that's why the Department of Justice was brought in. And actually, the agreement came in 2014, almost 7 years ago. And that's because of a culture of police brutality and also a culture of violating people's civil rights. Well, on the show today, the good news is we're going to give you an update. Actually, the update isn't very good news, but we're going to tell you what the Community Policing Council has to do with this agreement, has to do with their input and their concerns about the hiring of a new police chief. So while this is a very serious topic, it does affect all of our lives, and we do have some very good information for you. So please stay with us as we discuss the Community Policing Council and their input on the settlement and what it means to you and me. Please stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the program. I'm smiling because my guest is smiling. He's very positive. He's a psychologist, teaches psychology. So I said, beware. Eric Jackson is the co-chair of the Northwest Community Policing Council. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our community as a volunteer and for being a part of our program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
You had a big voice recently. Of course, this program is going to be airing in December and January, February of 2021. Yep. But back in November, there was a report that was published in the paper with the Independent Monitor, their report, and it was blasting what's been going on still with the police department. It was a big blast. And then in December, you appeared before Judge Browning and a lot of others with a Friends of the Court brief regarding what the Community Policing Council would like to say about this settlement agreement and how it's progressing and its update, and also about hiring a new police chief. So. Yes. I've said enough, Eric. You are going to be taking it away and really giving our audience a chance to remember back to 2014. Oh, yeah, CASA. What did that stand for? The court-approved settlement agreement, again, between Albuquerque Police, the city of Albuquerque, and the Department of Justice. So please, what's the update? I know back in November it was not good news. Every 6 months we get an update. I think a lot of people wanted more updates because really things aren't going well.
Yes, this is the 12th Monitor's report, so they come out twice a year, and this one was very, very difficult for the city to read and for our citizens to see. The CASA has been in place, as you said, since 2014, and the city and Department of the Police Department have made a lot of advances in that time. A lot of very good things have happened. But we still continue to struggle. The city and the police department struggle with some areas that are a very serious concern. What brought the DOJ in, as you said, was unconstitutional policing. And that continues to be an issue in Albuquerque.
Now that's a fancy kind of word, unconstitutional policing.
Yes.
In our layman's terms, please, Eric, what the heck do you mean? So, I mean, we've seen it in the news, but you tell me.
Yep, so what really brought DOJ in was, as you said as well, violating people's rights, not respecting individual rights. And that typically came through the use of force. Use of force we often think of that as things like police shootings, and those are absolutely the most advanced level of force and the most serious use of force. But there are many things that lead up to or are included in use of force by police, and that can be anything from showing a weapon to using tasers to other uses of force, empty hand techniques, controlling a person through the use of touch and things like that.
Which sometimes, of course, police need to use, but we've seen, what's interesting, even since 2014, Eric, everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody's taping it. So we actually see, back in 2014, I don't think a lot of us saw this.
Yes.
We saw the shooting of a mentally ill person up in the far northeast Heights, a camper. Yep. That was on TV. Was that back in 2000, prior to 2014?
That was one of the issues that brought DOJ in. That was a very glaring example.
But we saw it. That was police cams. We saw it, but now people have it. People have their cameras everywhere shooting, so we actually see it.
Yes.
We continue. So we've seen it in the national news and other states, but here in Albuquerque, according to that independent monitor report, sadly, discouragingly, disappointingly, it's still happening.
Yes.
Civil rights are still being abused, according to this independent monitor report.
And the real push in this monitor's report was not so much the ongoing use of force so much. That still continues to be a problem. What the monitor really dinged the department on was investigating uses of force. And that
or not investigating.
That's the really big issue. We can't stop these activities if we don't understand them and if we don't know about them. And that continues to be a major problem for the Albuquerque Police Department.
How do they find out about it in this report, Eric, if we don't know about it? Well, I mean, if it's going on,
yes.
But the monitor, independent monitor, is saying it's going on, but we don't know about it. How do they know it? We don't know about it.
So the police department has everyone equipped now with body cameras, on-body recording device. We just call them body cams. So we see recordings of every police interaction. And one of the things the monitoring team does is they review those cameras, the recordings. And through reviewing those cameras, looking at police reports,
they don't jive.
Sometimes there's a disconnect in what's written in the police report, what shows on the video camera, and then what witnesses, again, everyone with their cameras,
see it,
or what people in police custody say. And when you have that disconnect, that's where the investigations come in and look at all of the evidence to determine what really happened. And unfortunately, the monitor found some fairly serious incidents where there was a serious disconnect in what was reported versus what actually happened, according to the video evidence.
That was the main point in the report back in November of 2020. Yes. What happened in December before Judge Browning with the community police council and all the other interested parties? And I know you gave Friends of the Court brief, but tell me what kind of happened or what is a result of that meeting.
So this was a chance these hearings occur on a regular basis. This was a special hearing related to what came out in IMR, Independent Monitors Report 12.
Oh, this was a special update.
Yes.
It wasn't the ever 6 month update.
Yes, this
just
was
because it was so glaring, this report, they figured
yes.
they needed to get together. Okay.
And what's come out of this is I keep trying to say the university. I'm so used to UNM. What's come out of this is the Department of Justice and the city are now looking at a way of changing how use of force investigations are done. So there's negotiations ongoing between the city and DOJ on how best to turn these investigations around.
As I understand, back when there was the settlement agreement, the city of Albuquerque and the police department agreed to do more investigations.
Absolutely.
But they're not living up to that agreement, apparently.
The city police department has tried. They've really made a lot of changes, but it continues to be an issue. And it takes a long time, as you can imagine, to rewrite entire swaths of police policy and procedures. But that has been done several times. And each time we get a little closer to a better and more robust policy. But a sticking point continues to be this investigation of use of force. And what the city and DOJ are looking at now is bringing in an external group to review those force investigations. This is the first time this has ever been discussed between the city and DOJ, and this is a major, I can't state strongly enough, this is a major change to the CASA. So this is...
Oh, that's an addition to the CASA, saying an independent group will monitor.
Yes.
Now we have there's another COPA, what's that, the Citizen Police...
Yes. The Civilian Police Oversight Agency, which is the civilian group tasked with reviewing police accountability.
They review it.
Yes.
So they already do that, but they
Yes.
want something in between their review.
Yes, so this is a step before it gets to the CPOA. So what happens now is use of force occurs. It's investigated by APD.
By itself.
Yes.
Internal, what is
internal,
called?
yes, internal affairs. And they have an internal affairs force division, which is tasked with reviewing uses of force. What would happen if this agreement is agreed to and the judge accepts it? Those investigations would also go to an outside agency. And they would review the investigation to make sure it's been done properly and the right conclusions are being reached. And then the investigation would also go on to the CPOA, as it does now, where they independently investigate not only uses of force, but they investigate all types of complaints against the police department.
Eric, in addition to the independent monitor reviewing all the body cam footage, does anybody else at this time do that? And would this new group do that?
Yes. So this new group, I'm not sure of how the details will work out. That's part of the ongoing negotiations, of course. But the idea is that that group would kind of parallel the Albuquerque investigations. The police department investigating their own conduct, the conduct of their officers. And then they'd have this independent external set of eyes that would also investigate.
What does the Northwest Community Police Council and the entire council feel about this change?
We see this
potential change.
We see this as a positive. I think the use of force is a serious issue for the entire community. And we want the Albuquerque Police Department to get these investigations right and for people to have confidence that the conclusions that are reached and any actions that are taken are justified and appropriate. And we can't all be experts in everything we do. And this has been a stumbling block for APD. So bringing out some outside experts to help and to perhaps guide future investigations, I think is going to be a good thing. And I think it will help ensure a stronger level of trust in the community. That we know when we hear of these uses of force or we see something on the news, we can be confident that it has been investigated, and if there was wrongdoing, that has been addressed appropriately.
Eric Jackson, who is the chair of the Northwest Community Police Council, that's kind of after the fact. We're still looking at changing, improving the culture, what they call culture of the Albuquerque Police Department.
Yes.
What, in the report in November of 2020, what did the independent monitor say about changes in culture?
It, again, continues to be an issue. We have some members of the police department who are perhaps not in favor of all of the reforms. But I think that's a fairly small group. Most of the officers on the street understand the changes that have been made. They're there to do a good job. They're there to represent the community, and that's what they're going to do. And if the policies change, they change. They'll roll with it. They'll adopt whatever new policies need to be made. But there is the potential for some individuals to perhaps resent these changes, or to feel they're unnecessary. But the vast majority of police officers understand what the CASA is about, why DOJ was here or is here. And they just want to go out and do a good job and rebuild that community confidence.
What about, Eric, the feeling that police cannot do their jobs if we continue to have too many changes? Of course, they agreed to the settlement, but it sounds like every 6 months, or when there's a bad report with the independent monitor states that other changes are made. What about the confidence of the community that the police won't be hamstrung but will be able to do their jobs protecting the community?
Very good point. The IMR 12 concerns, really what they focused on was beyond the level of the street officer.
That's the independent monitor report number 12, because there have been 12 of them.
Yes.
That was back in November, so you're saying it went beyond. What do you mean by that?
So the individual officer on the street continues to do their job. They've been fully trained in use of force, everything else. So they continue to do their job the way they've always done it. What the monitor really complained about was how, beyond the street officer, how investigations of force are being done. So that's at a level beyond the street officer. And that's where that's where the stumbling block is. It's not the cop on the street doing something wrong. That does occur, of course, but generally those officers are doing a great job. The issue comes up higher up, beyond the level of the street officer, when uses of force are investigated.
But some of the uses of force have still continued to be
Yes.
aggressive, overly aggressive, and violating
Absolutely.
people's rights. So the police on the street still are making these mistakes.
Yes, and it's a very difficult job. We're talking about interacting with people often in the worst possible condition they're going to be in, looking out for themselves, their own concerns. But yes, sometimes mistakes happen, errors happen, whether intentional or not. And we have a policy and we have procedures in place to investigate those uses of force and to hold those officers accountable, whether that means discipline or retraining or additional training. There are steps that are taken to remediate those issues.
Eric, the changes for the officers on the street in their training, has that changed much? Which we think it should because of the problems we had with the Department of Justice being called in here, but has that changed much over the past 6 years?
Oh, there have been tremendous changes in that. In fact, the Albuquerque Police Department are among the best trained officers in the country in two areas. One of them is crisis intervention, which is where you're dealing with somebody in mental health or health crisis. All of our officers are trained in crisis intervention techniques. And that's beyond the level we see in most other cities. Also, our officers undergo what's called reality-based training. And in reality-based training, the department brings in actual actors to act out parts drawn often from actual experiences of officers on the street. And those actors and the police officers act through police encounters. And it's done in a very controlled environment, where the officers can go hands-on, and the actor playing the part of the individual in crisis. And that's a level of training that is almost unheard of. It's so unique, and it's so intense and meaningful. Mm-hmm. Here you are dealing with a person actually in crisis. It's an actor, but they're so well done that it gives the officers a chance to practice the techniques that they will be called on to use in the field. But it does it in a way where the supervising trainers can call stop and freeze everything. And the officer gets a chance to think, what could I do differently? What could I do better? What other steps could I have taken? rather than face that in the street where it's after the fact you're going back and thinking, what could I have done? This gives the officers a chance to fall back on actual training that they've undergone.
Do we know, Eric, or perhaps if you've known, what percentage would you say the people who are in the streets, the citizens, are mentally ill, have mental illness issues, drug abuses? It just seems like a lot of that, they're just not bad. Some of them bad guys, bad criminals who are stealing our cars and breaking
Yes.
into our homes, but mental illness, when you see the confrontation with the police, seems like that plays such a huge part
It
of the
does.
problems. And those are our loved ones who may have this illness, which is an illness.
Absolutely. I'm not sure what the numbers are now. At one point, I believe it was at least 25% of homeless individuals experience serious mental illness. And that's things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder. So people with very, very serious mental issues. And they are among the most challenging for the police to deal with. Albuquerque has done a great job of increasing the police training so that our officers are better equipped to interact with those people and understand what it means for a person to be in crisis and how to help defuse situations rather than escalate them.
So it sounds like you're sharing some hope that we're having.
Absolutely.
Regarding a new police chief, I know the Community Policing Council has their input on, they say a lot of times it starts at the top.
Yes, absolutely, and it does. The chief of police sets the tone for the rest of the department. The chief of police determines who his command staff will be, and the command staff, of course, oversee everyone, including the officers on the street. So the chief really does set that tone and determines the overall culture of the police department. What we're looking for in the new chief is somebody who understands the concerns and issues of the citizens of Albuquerque and is able to produce and maintain a department that is geared towards answering the complaints and concerns of citizens and able to handle the issues that we face as a city, including homelessness, drug addiction, mental health issues.
Right. Well, the mayor hires the police chief, but you'd like to see that citizens have an input. How would you like to see that structured? How would the Community Policing Council like to see that?
What we're hoping in January, we have 6 CPC meetings. And what we're hoping in January is that the city will come in and provide updates to the 6 community policing councils and the communities they represent on the process for selecting this new chief. What criteria are being looked at, how that process is going to occur, so that our community has a better understanding of how the mayor makes his selection. And also make sure the city provides opportunities for that community input. And they have been doing that already. We hope to continue that as we move through these next set of CPC meetings.
And I think also the finalists, you'd like to see a town hall, perhaps a virtual
Yes.
town hall, be conducted with the finalist candidates.
Absolutely. I think that the community needs to have an opportunity to interact with the people that are being considered for that final group of individuals who are being considered for this new position.
Eric Jackson, you've been a wealth of information. We just have a couple minutes left, and I know you probably want to get to, we have the community policing councils, we have 47 members. We can have as many as 66, so there's probably a pitch
Yes.
for people who are like-minded who want to improve our community. Who should they contact?
They can contact me, or they can contact their local community policing council. We are listed on the city's website. We do have a monthly meeting that everyone is welcome at, and we are constantly looking for new council members. Anybody who is interested in helping guide the Albuquerque Police Department and the city of Albuquerque towards an end to the CASA and towards a reformed police department, we welcome their input as part of the community. We look for them to join us as we move forward with the CASA agreement and moving beyond it into a better functioning police force moving into the future.
What the role of the CPA, Community Policing Council, is not to investigate APD contact. It's not to to represent citizens or the Albuquerque Police Department in any of these investigations, but it's to build a bridge between APD and the community.
Yes.
In final words, thank you for taking your time, Eric Jackson, the chairman of the Community Policing Council. What did I not touch upon that you'd like our citizens to know about the status of the CASA and the status of our police department in protecting citizens?
So the CASA is a work in progress. It's a work that has more steps to go, but there have been amazing advances. Our police department is much different than it was 6 years ago, and although it seems we have a lot of room to grow, we have done, the police department really has done a lot already. We want to help them move forward, finish off these reforms, and have a police department that the city trusts and is comfortable with.
Very good. And again, the volunteers of the Community Policing Council gets to see real action. I mean, they're involved. It's not just something in name. It's the community really involved in improving our community. So thank you. And the rest of the councils, the members, we'll have the 47, but we can have 66 doing their great part. And we appreciate you taking the time to be on our station. And the other councils have been here because we know what's going on in our own neighborhoods, but we like to hear what's going on in the rest of the city as well. So
yes.
Appreciate that. Thanks for watching the show. Make it a great week with your family. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Take care.
Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to New Mexicans by State Employees Credit Union, which has proudly been serving the families in New Mexico locally and abroad since 1958. State Employees Credit Union is ready to help you and your family with all your financial goals and is the exclusive sponsor of Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater in order to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a DVD copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.